Morning, one and all. Just the usual exercise, gently warming up the waist, gently allowing the hands to tap onto the kidneys, gently tapping the spleen pancreas on the left-hand side, gently tapping the liver on the right-hand side. Allowing the spine to waken up slowly, gently rotating all the muscles up the spine, through your hips, knees and ankles, through your shoulders and wrists, down to the wrists. We'll get onto the neck in a moment. I'm just going to adjust the camera ever so slightly. Got a new leafy colleague here with me this morning, keeping company. In Monday's email, I was mentioning that the 5-element test on my website is back up and running. It was broken for a few weeks. And essentially you go onto that page called test and you tick off boxes that seem likely for you. At the bottom, it tells you how your elements are in balance with each other. So in Chinese medicine, you have 5 elements as opposed to 4 in the Western or the Greek mythology. The 5 being wood, fire, earth, and then metal and water. And the question is, how do all of these elements balance with each other, or do they? And so the reason that Chinese are so sort of interested in horoscopes and so forth is that they believe that as above, so below, that the heavens mirror the earth, and that your time of birth is likely to set you up into a certain type of cycle. And so for me, this is my year. I'm a water tiger. And looking at my date of birth, you can calculate your major elements. And so you look at what's called the yearly, it's called your Gua. And then you look at your day master. When you compare both of those, you find elements attached to them. So I find that I am an earth, a fire, earth person. So we have this idea of the elements that are going to be more kind of predominant in your makeup. But then, of course, life intervenes and changes all of those things and exaggerates some. And, depending on the path you take, the suggestion is that because of those elements, you're going to take certain paths anyway, naturally, lean towards various things. Both of my elements seem to be fairly yang, which would make you outgoing, which has always been one of my sort of things. But also the earth is quite a grounded thing, and the fire is quite an excitable thing. The two of them in balance should keep each other more or less in check. They should be okay. Certain times of the year, summertime and late summer are good for me, and other times of the year more difficult. And so all of this is kind of suggested by the elements. So if you do the 5 elements test on my website, you can sort of see how your physiology is. It breaks it down into physiology and then into psychology and then combines the totals. But with Qigong, what we're really looking at is the physical side of things, because these are exercises for your body, essentially. And so I look at those and I find that there's an imbalance there that can be worked upon. And I can take exercises or do particular types of exercises that will help bring that balance back. I see my acupuncturist, he works on that imbalance. And I'm sort of studying food that should be good to work on that imbalance too. And so you can plant things in your life just to kind of help. But what does that mean overall? What's it all about? Which is often the question that comes on a Wednesday morning, isn't it? What's it all about? Okay, so let's slow this down a little bit and start to stretch it out, open it further. Use your neck and shoulders just to turn the whole spine a little bit further and get the neck involved. So the observation that comes with the looking at yourself in this way is that you can see that you have proclivities, predominant features in your life, but you have to also accept that everybody else does too. When elements flow one after the other in a supportive way, it's called the support cycle, then everything is going to flow really nicely in your life. When the elements are opposing each other or getting in each other's way, then life is going to be much more difficult for you. But the same is true of everybody around you. Sometimes we hit relationships and we just think, God, it's like I've known this person all of my life. If you were to delve deeper, you'd probably find that their elements are the same as yours, or perhaps complement yours is one of the things you often find. So if you have, for instance, a complete lack of metal element in your life, perhaps you find an affinity with someone who's got metal and they provide the missing part of you, but you'll also find that you've got lots of water and they haven't, and so they give you the metal you need and you give them the water they need. You might sort of see that in terms of yin and yang. You might find that you're getting a sort of a boost from them while they're getting a calm from you. And so sometimes we find that we fit perfectly with some people, and of course sometimes we find that we just cannot be with other people. And so it's true to say that you can also find that your relationships fit really well with someone for a while, and that after a while your relationship just seems to go off. To think, well, for years we were friends, but now we can no longer fit together. What's happened there? Well, the obvious answer to that is that you have evolved and changed your elements. So for instance, I spoke of fire being out of balance for me. The more I work on the fire element, the more it's going to change the way I am. The more I eat things to build my fire element, the more I work with them, the more it's going to change who I am as a personality as well. And so at some stage, if I've been relying on fire people to give me my fire, and now I've built myself up so I have my own fire, it might suddenly become very difficult now. I might sort of find fire with fire is just too much. And so once upon a time, I relied upon those people, and now, they're too much for me. I can't manage it anymore. And so it's not just the circumstances of your birth that will actually put you in alignment with people. It's also the way things change throughout life. So when you find yourself in conflict with someone, there are many, many different reasons why that might be. It might just be their birth date. It might just be the way they're living and the things that have changed inside them, the elements that have changed. You can't change that. You can only look after yourself. And indeed, you may have changed yourself and brought things back into balance that no longer suit the people around you. People might have relied upon the fact that you were out of balance and they could dominate, they could press buttons, they could get what they needed from you because they realized there were weak points. But as you start to build yourself up doing your Qigong, everything's going to start to work its way back into balance naturally. And that might not suit other people. So just understand that as we work our way through life, life changes us, life changes the people around us. What once worked may not work. What once didn't work may come into focus. And everything is seasonal, everything changes and shifts. And so, as I mentioned, my summer and late summer elements tend to give me a real boost at that time of year. I have a great sort of almost half a year of steam behind me. But when it gets into winter and running through spring, those tend to be quite quiet times for me, and I just have to keep myself to myself, and that's fine. So, yeah, seasonal change affects everything as well. So if you find that you're having a struggle with people, you can always just think, well, don't worry, that's just their, difficult time. Things will come right for them, and everything will come back into balance. Just be patient and allow that to evolve. Okay, so let's just slow this whole thing down. Let it gently come to a stop. Ooh, lovely. Let's gather some chi. Hands go deep in the earth and we lift up. Draw the chi through your body. Move the energy deep inside, allowing the chi to flow down back into the earth. Let's just run through that a few times. Gathering chi. Moving chi. Feel the chi subtly gathering deep in your belly. Feel your connection to the earth. Let's go into a forward bend so you can just lift chi up. And then allow the energy to pour down through your body. Sink and relax. Go down into a comfortable forward bend. Let the whole body relax and hang. Back of the neck relaxes. Let the spine gently relax. And tuck the tummy in. And sometimes that lets you go a little bit lower. Okay, so we're going to extend softly down towards our toes. And then release. Let's move towards the roots of our toes. And then release. Let's work towards our insteps. And release. Let's work towards our heels. And relax and release. Tailbone gently lifts up behind. Tailbone pushes to the front. Spine rolls up. Head, arms, and ears gather. Up into the blue sky. Knees and hips forward, you lean back. Up. And gently back. Up. And back. Up. And gently back. Hands up in the blue sky. Let's just gently tip over. You can keep the knees soft. Let's roll down. Oh, we didn't do any side bends. Well, we can do some side bends next time. Let the body just hang and relax down. Back of the neck relaxes. Okay, extend towards the toes. And release. For the roots of the toes. And release. Towards the insteps. And release. Back towards the heels. Body relaxes and hangs. Tailbone lifts up behind. Tailbone pushes to the front. Spine rolls up. Head, arms, and ears roll up. Stretch up into the blue sky. Let's go into our back bends first. Back bend. And up. 2. and up. 3 and up. And 4 and up. Side bends, left hand down. Open up the whole right side of your body. Right hand down. Left hand down. Right hand down. And then bring the right hand up. Stretching into the blue sky. Tip over the head, the arms, the ears. Let's keep the legs straight this time. So just gently go down with straight legs, curling over the spine, letting the whole thing relax down. Let the body hang. Legs stay straight. Weight is gently towards the toes. Feel the hamstrings stretch. Okay, let's extend down towards our toes. Release in line with the roots of our toes. Release. Head towards the insteps. And release. And then work towards the heels. Nice deep bend. Release and relax. Body hangs. Tailbone lifts up behind. Tailbone pushes the front. Spine rolls up. Head, arms, and ears roll up. Gently roll up to full height. Good long stretch into the blue sky. Knees and hips go forward. Lean back. Stretching up. And gently back. Up. And back. Up. And back. Let's do some side bends. Left hand goes down. Right hand down. Down on the left. Down on the right. And then bring the right hand up. Okay, last time through. Legs stay straight. Tip over, head, arms, knees. Roll into the middle back, to the lower back. Settle and sink your way down. Body relaxes and hangs. Okay, so extend softly towards the toes. And then release. Working towards the roots of your toes. And release. Working towards the insteps. And release. And then back towards the heels. Nice deep bend. Release, relax, body hangs. Tailbone lifts behind. Tailbone pushes the front. Spine rolls up. Head, arms, and ears roll up. Stretch up into the blue sky. Let's go back and up. Back and up. 3 and up. And 4 and up. Left hand goes down. Right hand down. On the left. On the right. And then bring the right hand up. Gathering chi over the crown of the head. Allow the chi to pour through the body. Release the hands down the sides. Let's gather chi. Pour chi. Draw chi deep into the belly. Again. We move all this energy deep into the core of the belly, really focusing it down. And then just allow the hands to release. We can draw the hands. Oh, let's gather one more time and then draw the hands to the belly for a moment. So lift up one more time. And then pour the chi down through the body, bringing the chi deep into the belly. And then just bring the hands onto the belly to nourish chi for a moment or two. So we can stand or sit as we go through the next section. Up to you. So I've been going on a lot about the kind of consciousness layer over the weeks. This idea that we are just consciousness expressing itself through our bodies and having a 3D experience in this life. And so the bottom line from that information is, it's all right, nothing really matters, it's just a game. And some people can find that quite comforting information. Okay, good, great, I don't have to panic, everything's okay. You know, and the ultimate extension of that is, it doesn't matter if you die because of your consciousness, it doesn't matter if life is terrible or the suffering is just part of the game of consciousness. But actually, on a daily basis, that's not really of a great deal of help. That's really the very long-term story, isn't it? Well, it'll all be fine. It's a sort of a slightly, yeah, it's not the great sucker that it might turn out to be. The idea is that, you know, it's supposed to take away the fear of death. And the idea is that there is only one fear in life, and that is death. And so if you no longer fear death, then you can live your life to this, you know, the fullest degree. And so we have this idea that you will go on. There is no question that your consciousness will continue. The essence of you will continue. You will be able to, you know, carry on as consciousness ad infinitum through this universe. That's perhaps of comfort, I don't know. But it does take an element of the fear away, and you think to yourself, all right, fair enough. Well, if this is just a game and many games, you know, if it's just like with children's computer games, you know, you can run around shooting things, you get killed, and you just start again from the beginning and off you go. It's a bit like life is a bit like that. I'm not suggesting you go out to get yourself shot, by the way, please don't do that. But what I am saying is that on the one layer, if we can eradicate our fear of death, then it does help us to live more fully. If you realize that you're just a speck of DNA floating around in this vast universe, and that, you know, it's not the human race, and if you go, you know, everything will carry on fine. So that's one sort of way of looking at it that can perhaps alleviate any fear, because we just sort of take away the element of death. And the idea also of death is that time stops. And so we live on a timeline. But the idea is that when we come to an end, time also comes to an end. And that whatever happens beyond that, in consciousness, there is no time. And so I think that sounds quite nice, the idea of no longer having to march to a clock, a constant time ticking through our lives. And so this is the only sort of change, is that we move from this physicality into non-physicality. We move from rigid time into not so rigid time. Who knows what governs consciousness? But we move back into consciousness. And then if our path is supposed to be, we'll come round again and have another go. Consciousness will have another form in which your consciousness, your part, your seed will be part of that. Or not. It's up to you, I think. Because we are all consciousness. So if we master this idea of, oh, well, it doesn't really matter, let's just have fun, that's a good starting place. And what we're really saying there is surrender to the process. So some of you guys might have been in the class last night, and I was telling the story, which I often tell, about bowed body exercise. And bowed body exercise can be really tough, especially if you've got a creaky old back like mine. I played rugby for 20 years, and it was quite an effort. I know I played rugby for about 12 years, let's say. And it did a lot of damage to my back. And then sort of gardening work and heavy labor and things like that have done damage to my back over the years. So Qigong has been a tool for me to rebuild my ability to move my back and look after my back. And so, yeah, this whole sort of passage of time in relation to your body as well. So obviously our bodies, go through this kind of arc of things working well and then eventually kind of degenerating a bit. But we use our Qigong to prolong and keep that open. And it actually refers back to where we were just before this exercise set, the things I was talking to about natural proclivities and the way these things work. Some of you may have naturally stronger bodies because of the date of your birth and because of the configuration of your stars. So all of these layers mushing around create this extraordinary version of your body, which consciousness inhabits. So consciousness lies inside this, or acts through this machine that we're given, this soft machine of our bodies. And whatever it is that consciousness has decided to achieve through your life, it works away at. I don't think it's a straight line. I don't think you're just given your programming and that's it. Nothing can be changed. I think that you, as your own local consciousness, are constantly changing and adjusting the path, inventing new interesting ideas, and so forth. But if we've taken away the element of fear, because we just think, all right, well, that's fine. Let's just live through this. And then we return back to my idea about the bowed body exercise. So if you don't know it, you end up in a sort of pike bend where you're hanging down. My story I was telling last night was about when I used to drink and I was working with my Chinese teachers. We were on a Sunday morning and the temperature was roaring along in the central London. It was already sort of 20, 22 degrees. I was hungover. And my Chinese teachers said, okay, let's do bowed body. Everybody bend over, and we all bent over. We expected to come back up 30 seconds later, but 20 minutes later, we were still bent double. And my back was, it was such, it was struggling away so badly. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. I was sweating. I was, I don't know, sweat or alcohol pouring out of my body, tears possibly, as I always joke. It was this terrible exercise. And I was really sort of struggling with it. And I thought, I think my back will break. I think I'm just going to die. I don't think I'll ever be able to stand up again. That was this kind of, panic, fear going through my body. And at some stage, I just thought, oh, there's no point in fighting this. And in that moment of surrender, everything changed for me in bowed body. I was suddenly able to make friends with bowed body and love it and really enjoy the exercise. So that's this idea next. We've eradicated our fear. And now what we're doing is we're moving to a place of surrender. And so we have to surrender to the fact that at the beginning of the call, I was talking about the way that the elements of the earth, the elements inside you, the time of your birth, can put you in conflict with other people because you find that you're a fire person and someone else is a water person. And as we know, water puts out fire. And so the idea is, you find yourself in relationships with people where it's just untenable, it just doesn't work. Sometimes you find yourself in situations that are just so ridiculous. People chipping away at you, people undermining you, people trying to control you, people upsetting you with every turn. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations of our own making, where we put ourselves into situations where everything is fearful. We think it's going to be a good idea, and then suddenly we start to panic and think, oh God, what have I done? We start to make our own fear for ourselves. But this is what life is all about. This is what consciousness does. Consciousness experiences itself through you. Consciousness is everything that we do. And so don't panic. Things are naturally set at odds. There are so many variations in our universe. How boring would it be if everybody was totally in balance and happy with each other? It'd be, harmony, and what a lovely harmony it would be for about 10 minutes. And then everybody would just get bored. Things would go wrong. So perhaps there have been races, or may well be versions of humanity that one day live in harmony. I think there's an interesting story there in the Bible about the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden represents perfect yin and yang harmony. Then there's always, in the yin and yang symbol, in the white part of it, a dot of black, and in the black part of it, a dot of white. And so we might have perfect harmony between yin and yang for a while, but there's always going to be this speck of disharmony, a snake coming to hiss in your ear that's going to change yin into yang and yang into yin. And so, interestingly, one of my friends described it once and saying, it's like a biker's knuckles. They have tattooed love on one side and hate on the other. This is the sort of yin and yang example of the sort of hairy motorbike guy with love and hate on his hands, which he said, love is interesting because we all search for love, but actually love represents stasis. And then hate represents change. I thought about that and I thought, no, but everybody wants love. And so what we have is the desire to gather love and the desire to move hatred away. But that is the desire that drives our entire lives. That is what moves humanity forward, is this constant cycle. And if it stayed steady, then humanity would never change. But as it is, it moves. Hate arises, and we crush it with love. And then more hate arises, and we crush it with love. And so it goes, and humanity evolves and changes because we need something bad in order to see what it is that's going on. And so when something comes up in your life, you just have to realize that it's your teacher. That's why so many people sort of say, oh, well, cancer was my greatest teacher. I got it and then I got through it, came out the other side, and I'm a totally different person. And back to the very start, when I was talking about the elements in our bodies, we're born with certain proclivities, but actually we end up in that situation where life changes those things. You never have to be stuck with what you're given. you can always change and adapt your circumstances. So don't ever see anything as being stuck. And there's a sort of a system in Chinese, in the 5 elements, which says at certain times of the year, certain elements are going to be prosperous, certain elephants, that's interesting, huh? Certain elements are going to be prosperous, certain elements are going to be strong, certain elements are going to be in balance, certain elements are going to be weak, and some are going to be trapped. Trapped is a very sort of like stagnant, I suppose is a better word than trapped. They use trapped as a word. And then sometimes they use the word dead. Certain element will be dead. So it's kind of like, at the height of summer, the winter element is dead. At the height of winter, the summer element is dead. So it all sounds very dramatic. The fact is, oh my God, what happens when my water element is dead? Will I be dead? No, of course not. Everything is in a cycle. Everything moves. It's just the way it is. And so you just have to understand that everything is cyclical in nature. The circle of life. I won't burst out into singing a chorus from The Lion King, but the circle of life is exactly it. And that everything changes. As my ex-teaching partner, Caroline, used to say, you read in the Bible, she said, and so it came to pass. She said, it doesn't read, so it came to stay. I always thought it was quite a good comment. And so it came to pass. You think, all right, fair enough, I'll take that quite literally. It came and it will pass. Okay, so I think that's enough wombling on. But I think it's possibly really just useful to say, I was talking about the 5 elements test on my website, that we use our Qigong for the physical part of our lives. So Qigong changes the physicality of your body. There are many kind of pillars on which to rest our lives, but essentially exercise, in brackets, Qigong is one of them. What we eat is another one. You are what you eat. And the other one is your mental hygiene. And so again, from that 5 elements test on my website, you can have a look at the psychological side of yourself as well. However, the Qigong is much better at affecting the physical side of yourself. So take a look at the physicality column there and see what exercises. See if something looks very low amongst the other results. And you think to yourself, okay, well, it shows me that my water element is very low. And then because my water element's low, what's water all about? You can read up about water on, I've got a 5 elements course you can do. Sorry, subliminal advertising. But also you can read up everywhere about what element water is and its major emotional side, which is fear. And so you think, wow, okay, so my water element is very low. I have a proclivity towards fear. I'm often scared irrationally about things. And so therefore I might have to do some water exercises. And then I think, oh yes, look here, at the bottom of the page, it says a link to Jeremy's YouTube. And there you'll find a water exercise and you can do that. You could add it to your daily routine. And you think, okay, so I'm doing that. And I'm building up my water element and things will come back into balance for me. That's the kind of logic behind it. Okay, so we're going to, and then just to add one last step to that, when we do something like lift you up and port you down, or we do our body mindset, or any of the exercises really that you took a class for, you'll find that they're put together as an entire set. And the idea of a set is that they're all in balance with each other. And so if you do your lift you up and port you down, you're naturally doing exercises. We think about the forward bend and lift you up, port you down, and that stretches the legs and that squeezes the liver and the kidneys and the spleen. We think about the arms and shoulder exercises, that massages the lungs and the heart. We find that Dr. Pang has built everything you need for a general balance. But sometimes it's very good just to take one element and really work with it, pump it up if it's low. And then that will help. So you can add an extra boost to one particular element by, for instance, exercising with it, eating a few of the foods that relate to it, and taking note of the time of year to see if it would naturally be a bit depressed, as it were. So, for instance, as we're now coming into summer, you might find that your water element is low. That's the winter, and that's that just feeling that, it will naturally be like that. But you can still lift the water element up. The 5 element system, the deeper you go into it, the more complex it becomes. You can dial down to a very fine level of self-diagnosis. But just remember, none of it's really that important. If you just surrender to the process, take a lighter path through life, just realize that any of the fear you carry, any of the worries, these are just parts of this game we've been given, parts of the game that we're playing. That everything passes. No matter how bad it feels today, it's definitely going to feel better tomorrow. We can just release our hands and hold a ball of chi, if you're not already doing that. Just check you've got soft knees, tailbone slightly tucked, a sitting posture, straight back, chin is gently tucked. So what of this physicality? Through thousands of years of playing with chi and working things out, all the lineages that finally meet at this point called Jeremy start to come to focus. And so we find that for thousands of years, people have been trying to understand what a good standing posture would be to gather more chi. And this is where we find ourselves now. You know the story. Sometimes we have the heels a little bit wider than the toes, we have the knees softly bent, we have the straight spine, this little circular motion of the hips, tuck the tailbone slightly forward, lift a little bit at Hoi Yin, roll the dantian back and sit down. We just feel the hips have just been slightly adjusted, slightly lifted. And if you look at a pelvic girdle, normally it's slightly down at the front. And just by tucking the tailbone, it becomes a little bit more kind of level, top of the hip and the back of the hip. By pulling the tailbone downwards and lifting by Hui, the top of the head upwards, we get this lovely straight spine. When you straighten up, you get more of a flow of qi flowing up the spine to your brain. So sitting slumped all day in front of a computer compacts the spine, compresses it, stops the qi flowing so well. In fact, in case of point, is that right? Should limit the flow of blood and qi into your brain. So in theory, sitting at a chair all day is actually not a good way to work. Better to work standing, some people find. We have this idea of a nice long neck, the chin softly tucked back towards the spine, by Hui lifted. And that just straightens up the cervical curve, allows qi to flow better through that area. On the soles of our feet, we have Yong, Kwan, the kidney point. If you take a line from the tip of your middle toe towards the center of your foot, and you go a third of the way along the foot, you pretty much hit Yong, Kwan. So Yong, Kwan is not bang in the middle geographically, center line of the toe, across the middle of the foot. It wouldn't be quite there. It's only a third of the way, so it's forward of that point. But it is, as you bend your knees, the point that you're really pressing against the ground. So when you bend your knees a little bit more, you feel all the weight shift to the front of the foot. But actually what you're doing is really standing on this kidney point. And the kidney channel runs all the way up the legs, drawing chi up into the body. The kidney is about cooling and calming the body. There's also, you find, a thing called kidney fire as well, which kind of gives us our drive. But one of the sort of predominant things is about kidneys calming and cooling the body. It's the water element inside of you. And so just by standing with your knees bent and having the hands in front of your dantian, on your dantian, in front of your dantian, doesn't really matter. Even hanging down by the sides doesn't particularly matter. But just with these bent knees, we've connected the kidney channel. We've got the kidney chi flowing as best as we can, coming up from the earth, up into our kidneys, stimulating our kidneys. And so just that stance stimulates a calm in the body. This is the foundation of standing Qigong, bringing calm to our bodies. Any other moving form of Qigong have got a yang tendency to them. They're energetic by the sheer nature of the fact that you're moving. But standing still has a yin tendency to it. Gently allows yin to percolate through your body. So standing Qigong becomes the counterpoint to our busy lives. So we find ourselves rushing around, find ourselves engaged in the 21st century, flooded with information. How do we counteract that? By spending time in nature, out walking with a quiet mind, by standing barefoot on the grass, in brackets, not when it's cold and wet though. Just by doing our standing meditation, we bring about connection to the earth, which is in balance. Kidney energy, which is calming. And hopefully as we stand, we allow the brain to stop its squawking, which again brings healing to the body, balance and healing. So as I often remind you, a wonderful lady I met in China who cured herself of breast cancer in 3 weeks. Then it was discovered she had insomnia. So she cured herself of that in a further 3 weeks. And then it was discovered she was addicted to painkillers, to prescription painkillers. She cured that in a further 3 weeks. So in the space of about 2.5, 3 months, she had altered her life entirely just by doing standing Qigong. And I said to her, what's your practice? She said, I get up first thing in the morning and I stand for 2 hours. Then I have a lovely day. You know, she was teaching, she was out shopping, she was helping cooking, she was doing the cleaning around the center. And then come to the late afternoon, early evening, she would just stand for a further 2 hours. Every day, without fail, 4 hours of standing meditation. And as soon as she began that regime, she cured herself of cancer within 3 weeks, cured herself of insomnia, cured herself of prescription painkillers. Let the mind be quiet, let the body relax. Whole body relax. So we often use this phrase, body relax, mind expand. This is exactly what we're doing. We're trying to soften and find a sustainable posture for our standing Qigong. Silencing our mind, just allowing it to go quiet. The voices stop. The worries stop. The complaints stop. Mind goes into a gentle, neutral. We take up a posture that allows the qi to flow from the earth up through the body. Dr. Bang makes a very basic point. He says, if you fill your body with good qi, then there's just no room for anything else. It's a very simplistic idea, but it works incredibly well. It's about engendering good health at the deepest level. So as you stand, surrender to the process. Soften, surrender, and allow everything to be all right today. You are just consciousness playing through this body, experiencing illnesses and problems to learn. All part of the game. At some level, a game invented by you. So now we bring these things into our lives. We have these extraordinary challenges. We face terrifying scenarios as part of our learning. Sometimes you think to yourself, why would I ever do this to myself? Why would I want this? Why would I be so crazy as to bring this into my life? Because it all is part of the wonderful learning curve we call life. We've got a few more minutes left. Let's just do some Lachi. We know how Lachi works. The problems that are residing in our life or in our body, we just open the hands and let everything gently dissolve. When we bring our hands back, we don't think of that problem again, because that would give it power. What we bring back is perfect healing and everything working well. So when you let go, surrender at the deepest level. When you draw in, rebuild anew, seeing your body in perfect working order. To open, we say kind. To close, we say hug. Yeah, we would just finish off with Kai He. Just a couple more then. Next two could be a little quieter. Let's do the last two. Moving, but in silence. Okay, so let's draw the hands back onto the belly. Just hold Qi deep inside lower dantian. Nourish lower dantian. Lower dantian is abundant. All of this Qi we've built up, stored deep inside lower dantian. So we can just gather Qi a few times to finish off our exercises. So you can just let the hands relax down. The hands go into the earth. We can gather Qi, and what we're going to do is just draw the Qi down to lower dantian. So gathering the Qi from the heavens down through the body, draw to the belly, and just pause the hands on the belly for a second. Let's do that again. Gather Qi. And draw Qi down to the belly. Hold the Qi there. We can gather Qi one more time, but this time backwards by our hips. So you just draw the hands back past your hips, flare them out to the side, make a great circle in front, and then draw back and allow the Qi just to land there on the belly once more. Lower dantian Qi is abundant, blood and Qi flowing well through your body. All of this healing that we've put in place, now working deep inside the body. Let's circle round lower dantian 3 times, gathering all the Qi in, holding the Qi, storing the Qi. Let's go around 3 times the opposite direction. And then we hold all this Qi deep inside. As you stand here, imagine your weight Qi layer around your body protecting you, your Qi body around that, vast protective Qi body, and then your connection out into the Qi field. And deep inside you, every cell in your body filled with Qi. Every cell in your body working perfectly, exactly as you'd wish them to work. Your body healing at a deep, deep level. And all functions of your body returning to perfect working order. All functions normal. All functions of your body normal. So you can slowly open your eyes, put a big smile on your face, let your hands come down by your sides, wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, shake the body out, stretch out in whatever way you wish. And then we can say Hala together. So if you'd like to unmute yourselves, we can say Hala 3 times. Okay, so hands in the air. 1, 2. Hala. 1, 2. Howla. The last time. 1, 2. Howla. Oh, thank you very much.